Okay, folks, our next and final presentation in the Middle East and East Asia session is about empowerment through preserving cultural identity and heritage by Ziad Hadara. He's going to, as previously, he can give you a much better intro than I can. And please listen to what he has to say. This speaks, I think, pretty directly to what we're all about here in global building.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope this will, the IT gods, the technology will smile upon me. I'm having a hard time with technology. I hope you can hear me well. Hopefully we'll make it through this. I'm here this afternoon to talk to you about Inash Association, which is based here in Beirut in Lebanon, which is where I am. Inash is an association. I'll talk more about the history in a second, but it's an association that works with the Palestinian women in refugee camps in Lebanon. And it has two objectives. The association first is to provide them with improved livelihoods, with economic empowerment through helping through they basically work on hand-stitched embroidery, very high quality traditional embroidery that an association then goes ahead and sells. It comes in the forms of clothing, shawls, bags, all sorts of items that I will give you of a little bit later. So the first objective is this economic empowerment of the women, but the second objective also to the preservation of this really beautiful artisanal heritage of Palestine, where I mean, it's a heritage that was ingrained in everyday life across all the country to a large extent, and even every city and every village had its own motifs and its colors, its own symbols that were typical of that particular place. So it was a very rich heritage, and Inash has for one of the main objectives to preserve that. And recently, in fact, UNESCO even recognized Palestinian embroidery as a cultural heritage. So those are the two main objectives of Inash. But let me give you a little bit, I mean, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the text here, but I'd like to give you a little bit of a historical context just to paint the picture. You probably, I mean, I don't know if you know, but in 1948, as a result of the conflict in the Middle East, and the creation of Israel, a lot of Palestinians were displaced. I mean, they refer to this time as the Nakba or trophy. And it's basically a time when they were displaced from their homeland, uprooted basically, and became refugees in neighboring countries. Okay, so a lot of them who became refugees in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, and all the neighboring in the region. And initially, they lived, when they first became refugees, they lived in the tented camps, like refugees today, like regular tented camps. But over the years, and these camps, I mean, we're talking now 70 years since that happened, these camps morphed into slums, into built cities. They're no longer tents, but they're really slums that are overcrowded, overpopulated, extremely ugly, I mean, just really no services whatsoever. And they've become like enclaves. Like there are several camps spread out all over Lebanon, where these refugees have now generations upon generation growing in those camps. They live there, they work there, that's all their life. They don't have a lot of civil rights because they're still considered as refugees in terms of status. Even the ones who were born here generation after generation, there's a lot of jobs they can't work at officially, even though they might be trained for it or learn. A lot of reasons why there's still refugee status. It's a political issue, both the Lebanese side and the Palestinian side. But basically trying to say, I'm just give a visual context of the places they live in. And I will share here, hopefully my screen won't fail me, some pictures that are of these camps. I don't know if this is going to show. Tell me if it's showing what I'm showing you on my screen here. This is, for example, a picture from one of the camps that I took myself. Can you see it? Yes? Showing? Yeah. This is another one. I mean, I just want to give you a visual of how congested, how really just suffocating these places are to live in. And some people spend their entire lives here. Okay, these are pictures that I took myself. By the way, even though these camps exist in Lebanon, for example, many Lebanese have never been inside those camps because they're really sort of like standalone little pockets that nobody goes into unless these people inside come out and do some of the things they need to do, and then they go back. Right. But I went in because as a trainer on social entrepreneurship and social businesses, I had to give a training to women. In that door you see here in that alley on the right, there's an NGO that lives there, and that's where I gave the training to these women on how to create social. That's the only reason that I actually went into these camps and was able to take these pictures. So this is just to give you sort of a sense of the context in where these women that Ash works with live. As a result of the creation of these camps in 1948, a number of women in 1969, as far as back as 1969, created Ash, the association that I'm talking about, that I'm presenting to you today. And as I said, the aim was to present to help these women through their, because they all were skilled, that was a intrinsic part of their daily life. So it was to help them generate income by creating beautiful pieces of embroidery and then helping them sell it across Lebanon and across the world eventually. But also, like I said, the objective is to preserve this heritage, because really this embroidery was, even though it has now become commoditized as a high-end artisanal handmade product, initially it was not. It was something that the women were doing for their own daughters, for their own lives. It reflected the different status, the different geographic areas. So it was mainly embroidery for themselves before it became, as a result of this economic hardship, a commoditized product that is being sold aside to other people. But I also want to, so this is why Ash was created. I'm going to again, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about. This is the embroidery we're talking about, and then just to give you a visual also of what it is that these women have traditionally created. It's stuff like this. What you see here is examples from different cities in Palestine, where the city had its own colors, its own, derived from the local flora, fauna, food, whatever that was particular to it. And the people who are experts at this, I mean, I'm no expert for sure, they can look at this and identify which city it's coming from, what are the symbolism, what does it present, and so on. But this is sort of like what the sort of stuff I'm talking about here. Some examples of authentic pieces that were, handed over the years that were created back then. You can see this, because again, I'm not trusting my technology here, but can you see it? Yes. Yes. Okay. Good. So this is what Ash was trying to do. Now, as I said, Ash was created by a number of women, mainly of Palestinian heritage, who had the sense of social responsibility and wanted to support the women who were less fortunate and living in the refugee camps. So they created this association for them, and they became kind of the caretakers of this thing. And even though like in the past 30 or 40 or even 50 years, it has been managed organically and sort of informally by as an NGO, as an association, and in fact became quite known for its excellent craftsmanship of its products and of its embroidery. And the products are now sold in the show here in Beirut, but also through resellers around the world, really, in all continents that we have made deals with, where they put products on consignment and sell them. And then most recently, they've been sold through the Instagram account, where people check out the products and then they order stuff online that is shipped to them. So this is traditionally how it has been done. Now, recently, and this is the part that I find more interesting, I have, along with a number of other colleagues, to join the board of Ash. So I've only been on the board of Ash for 1 year now, along with a few other colleagues. And our task is basically to transform Ash from a local, informally run association into a social business, a proper social business that focuses more on sales than on donations, that wants to expand its product range and expand its reach globally. And we've just in fact launched an e-commerce platform online just yesterday, the soft launch, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we will announce it formally. But the objective now for us as a board is to oversee this transition from En'ash being a sort of an informally run organization to a proper social business with sales, a bigger audience, bigger customers, and more professionally run. The way we want to do this is to expand the social impact of En'ash. So we would like to engage more women. We would like to impact the lives of more women as they do more work. But we would also like to provide other areas that I will mention right now. There are certain challenges that we face as a board as we do this transition. And there are main three. There's a financial challenge that we face, which is basically that in order for us to achieve our mission, we have to definitely increase our sales and reduce our costs. Our costs have been pretty high because the handmade thing is pretty costly, plus all the material, textiles, whatever, is really high quality, but we need to reduce the costs of it. And the reason we would like to do that is we would like a larger portion of the sales to go to the women. Like right now, we're happy with the percent of money that actually makes it to the embroiderers. We would like to increase that percentage and reduce our organizational overheads. And become more profitable in order to be able to support them not only as fees, but also support them medically, support their families with education and so on. I mean, you might know that Lebanon right now is going through a very tough time economically. I mean, it's just a really, really hard time in the history of the country. So this is amplified 10 times for refugees living in refugee camps. So our challenge is, but some are, sticking by it for now. We also have it on the production side, because as you see, there are high quality handmade items that take a long time to produce. And so our supply chain is rather limited. And on the other hand, we would like to expand our sales, expand our number of products. So there's a challenge between maintaining the quality and maintaining the uniqueness of these pieces versus becoming more of a thing that sells online. And most importantly, the biggest challenge for it is the social impact. What I'm going to share again for the last time my screen, and I hope just to give you to show you the actual products that these people work on. So these are the actual samples, for example, of products that these women produce in the refugee camps. So you see in the background image, the quality of the place where they live and how ugly it is. And out of that ugliness, they're coming out a lot of these really beautiful pieces that are really well designed, the purses, shawls, and so on, are being that people are appreciating so much for their beauty, and yet they're coming from these really hard locations where these women are based. Again, these are, for example, some of the cushions. We do a lot of collaborations with artists as well, who design the items and then the women reproduce them. So these are cushions that are also sold online. Again, some of the shawls. I just want to give you sense of what is being produced here. So the organization En'ash has the task of creating the designs, marketing, selling, and so on, and the women produce them hand embroidered. And then again, a last example of a shawl and a purse and so on. But what I wanted to say is the social impact for us as a board is very important, because right now, unfortunately, these women, although they are working and they are gaining economically, because of the hardship, because of the nature of where they live and how they live, they see this primarily as a source of income, which is fine. I mean, that's part of our objective, or our main objective is to really give them improve economic situation. But I don't think these women perceive of the impact they're having on the cultural dissemination of their heritage and on the preservation of that heritage. I don't think they are aware of what En'ash is doing outside of the camps and outside of paying them money. And I really think that part of our task as an NGO or as a board, I mean, is to help them become more proud of their heritage and of the value that they're doing, besides the fact that they're making money producing it, because I think that would help them to a large extent overcome the difficulties of daily life. And it's not just about making money, but it's also about disseminating the heritage. It's about feeling proud of where you are, where you're coming from, and also passing this on to future generations. Because we do that, the women help teach their daughters and they pass on the trade. But again, you know, young generations, they feel this is outdated, they don't feel it's cool enough. We need to change that mindset and make them be aware that this is something that's become part of the worldwide fashion. They're a part of it. It sort of brings more people into the fold, increases the benefit, but also adds this touch of beauty to their daily life. So they stop seeing it as they're getting paid for, but it's really something that adds a lot of beauty to the ugly context they live in. So that's it. I'm going to stop here. Hopefully you all properly assume you heard me. And I'll wait for your questions later.